Hey, I'm Chris from Mig Everything, and today we're going to rehab this welder. Check it out. Alright, a little bit of background. I picked up this machine for close to nothing on LetGo, which is similar to Craigslist. And the guy that I bought it from on LetGo, I asked him if it worked. He said he didn't know. And he said, I don't have gas and I don't have a spool to test it, but I do have 220 power to plug it in. I said, okay, sounds good. Can I bring a bottle of gas and can I bring a spool and we can try it out before I give you my money? And he said, yeah, sure, no problem. So we get there and I put a spool in it and I hook the gas up. As soon as I hook the gas up, the regulator that was on the machine just starts pissing gas everywhere, so that's garbage. But I brought my own regulator, aha. Put the regulator on it, then I put a spool on it and tried to feed the wire through the liner, and we couldn't get the wire through where the liner meets the gun. There's something going on there. When we finally did, by the guy stretching out the liner all the way, it would feed for a second, and then it would bird's nest over here. So the liner's shot, the regulators are shot, it's missing a wheel, it's filthy. Let's strip this thing down, let's get some new parts on it, and bring this old girl back to life. All right, let's get into it. The first thing I want to do is I want to take this broken wheel off and I want to actually put a wheel on this side. Right now I have a couple chunks of wood keeping it up, and it's super sketchy. This thing's kind of heavy, it's like 150 pounds, so I really don't want it teetering over on me. Oh my God. Ugh, it is filthy in there. That is a crusty piece of equipment. You can see right here the loose wheel. So we'll take care of all that though. No problem. We're doing wheelies! And this probably wasn't the best way to do this, having the machine basically sliding towards me while I drilled out from underneath, but I didn't really have a better way to get into that side of the machine at this point. I hadn't decided to take that side cover off yet. Eventually I do take it off, but for now, this worked. As sort of sketchy as it was, got the job done. That was surprisingly more difficult than I thought it was going to be, to get these stupid wheels on. And something I didn't mention is that these wheels from Harbor Freight have, they have a half 20 thread, which apparently is a common thread for the bottom of scaffolds. But for me, it was a huge pain to get half 20 nuts. So what I wound up doing was I got half 13 nuts and I got a half 20 tap, and I just ran this tap through the half 13 nuts, and it gave me a half 20 thread that had a lot of engagement, and I feel like it's going to do the job for this application. Probably not great for like a structural thing, maybe not to do this, but if you can't find the nut, just buy the tap and get something close and you're good. All right, let's keep going. So the inside of this is terrible. I don't know how well it's going to pick up on camera, but it's like caked in dust. I just feel like that can't be great, so we're going to vacuum this out. Turns out the vacuum didn't work that great, and I have to wind up blowing the whole thing out with an air compressor, but it was worth a try. So the gun and the liner are shot, the grounding clamp is all gunked up, and the power cord has a really terrible splice in it, so we're going to fix all those things. But one of the good things about this machine is it's got like, I don't know, 40 feet of cord on it, which is great. It's 10 gauge, 220, and it's super long. So what I'm going to do is, here you can see this fray. Give you a close up of the fray. Nice job. I'm going to cut the cord here and bring it back into the machine directly, because this is just a hazard. I don't want this. No good. You can see this really bad looking splice kind of cover here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this wire, and we're going to wire this right into the machine. Ooh, I see some bare copper in there. Nice. Whoever used this machine before I got it, they took risks. I can appreciate that. There's a strain relief on the back. Like one of these little wire clamps. We're going to take that off. Okay. So I'm grounded out to the bottom over here. And then I got my black and my white going to opposite sides of this, which looks like the switch. It is. So the switch is up here and the ground is there. That's it. There's nothing else going on in here. There's no, there's just 3 wires. Black, white, and ground. I'm going to cut this, splice this nice good wire into there. Using one of these stupid automatic wire strippers, they never work. What am I, a caveman? So now that I got that side cover off, I'm basically just taking the old wire off, searching for the right fitting. I decided to just use exactly what was on there, which were these crimp-on closed loop terminals. So those will work. And 10 gauge wire is a little heavy for the stuff that I'm using, but all in all, turned out fine. It's a real pain to get in to tighten this down. The switch doesn't have terminals with a Phillips head on them. They were just socket caps, so that were kind of a pain. And then it's really important on these machines is to make sure the strain relief is back on, because the last thing I want to do is yank that out. Seems legit. And here I'm just stripping back the wire for the grounding clamp and putting a new terminal on it. So the old grounding clamp, you saw all that corrosion on it. I just decided to get a new one, picked it up from Harbor Freight for a couple bucks, and got the terminal from Harbor Freight as well. So that'll help out and just sort of spruce it up a lot. Brand new MIG gun. Bought this on Amazon for 80 bucks. It's a 12-foot lead, and it's a Miller M10 equivalent. So it's the same gun that was made to use on this machine. This originally came with a Miller M10. So this should do exactly the same thing. That looks kind of bent. That's weird, but this should be exactly the same for 80 bucks. And here I'm just adding some wire and feeding it through the liner. Nothing special. Doing a little bit of adjusting just to make sure my tension's good and everything will feed. Then I can actually put the covers back on and get it off the bench. Not gonna happen. No, that seems like a good way to hurt myself. I'll get some help. Turns out I didn't get any help. Just decided to skate it down. That worked. Woo! It's on the floor. Okay, so now that the machine's running, it's off the bench, I've got a new regulator and a new hose, and we'll hook this up to gas and see if it works. So according to the panel in here, to weld 1/8 inch with 35 wire, 75% CO2, 25% argon, it's 3 on the voltage and 40 on the wire speed. Let's try it. These are hideous. Really smoky and shitty. They look not shielded. So I'm getting really poor performance out of this, and I think my problem is I don't think my gas is getting out of this gun. I don't feel any gas coming out of it, so I think that's my problem. So I got to go back into the machine and figure out why I'm not getting any airflow into this. I'm definitely getting gas out of the bottle, but I don't think I'm getting any out of the gun. I don't know what to do now. Okay. So what was just happening was I was getting a really ugly weld that seemed like I had no gas, but the gas was definitely on. So I went back into here, and where the gun goes into the machine, the way that these machines work is you got your line of air, whatever your gas, comes through and it goes into a fitting with a hole in it or several holes in it, I don't actually know. And on the MIG gun itself is a section of the gun with 2 O-rings and a bunch of holes drilled in it. And the way that it works is the air comes through and, basically creates a little chamber with those 2 O-rings, and the air travels through the liner into the end of the gun. In my case, what was happening was, I'm going to pull the gun out so you can see. In my case, what was happening was this section right here was pushed too far forward, so I was losing the vacuum there, and I wasn't getting the gas through the end of the gun. Now that I kind of repositioned it, it feels like I'm getting good gas flow out of the end of the gun, and it should weld much better. So Now in my case, it actually involved me sort of pulling the gun out a little bit. This is an aftermarket liner and gun for this machine, so it might just not line up exactly the same. So now I can get my roller back on there. Let's try that again. Nice and ugly. But hey, it'll bond metal together, and that's what we're going for. Okay, so the machine's running good. Everything is set up, and I'm confident that the machine's going to continue to work. When I work on a project like this, I don't like to get into any of the cosmetic looks of anything until the machine functions 100%. So now that it works right, let's clean it up. So at this point, got the machine outside. Anytime I have to do any sort of like blowing out or cleaning, I try to do it outside the shop. I hate to bring like all that extra dust. You can see how much is coming off the machine here. I don't really want to have to like try and get that out of the shop, so I just find it better to just do it outside if I can. It's a nice day. So just using compressed air to get the dust out of the machine, and then here I'm using some simple green degreaser and a gray Scotch-Brite pad, and then I'll switch to a green Scotch-Brite pad. And you can see it really brightens the whole thing up. The thing had been in an auto body shop, I think, and it had a bunch of overspray on it and some paint. Not like it really matters, but I wanted it to at least look a little bit better than it did, a little cleaned up. So Scotch-Brite and a degreaser go a long way. Cleaning up the face, trying not to remove any of the markings or anything with the degreaser. That's why I didn't go too crazy getting that paint drip off of it. Now I'm just cleaning up the back a little bit. Again, more degreaser, Scotch-Brites, rags. Thing was really crusty. Now here, what I'm doing to the wheels had all like embedded dirt and pieces of metal in them, and what I found works really well on this kind of like hard plastic wheel is you just use a wire wheel on a grinder and let it sort of like turn down the wheel a little bit, and it gets all that embedded metal and stuff out of there. Just makes it roll better, makes the wheel a little bit smoother, cleans it up. And the guy I bought it from, somebody at one point put this like wheelie tip bar on the back, so I guess that it wouldn't tip backwards if you have a big tank on it. And I want to keep it tight against the wall, so that's got to go. Just zip that off with a grinder. That's pretty much done. All cleaned up. Bring it back inside. I kind of want this to hang right here. Like that would be nice if I had a little thing right there. Let's make something for there. So at the time I didn't have any 1-inch steel, but I'd had this 1-inch by 1/8 inch thick aluminum, and this will do fine. All it's got to do is hold up a wire. And here I'm just using like a little plastic cap to give me a nice round radius, and I trace it on there and grind it out. And I made sure to use an oversized drill bit here so that if my alignment wasn't so great, it would still work. Again, all it's got to do is hold the wire for the ground and the hose, so it's not totally critical that this thing be like super strong. And what's nice about aluminum is you can just bend it by hand in a vise. So I just made some marks, put this in the vise, clamped it up, and put it onto the machine. And there it is next to my Miller Auto Set 212. they're very similar machines, so I'm excited to get this one moving. All right, that about does it for this one. Overall, this was a pretty straightforward project. Feels really good to bring a machine like this back to life. Like I said during the video, this machine, the Auto Arc, is very similar to this machine right here. This is a Miller Auto Set 212. You've seen this in a lot of my other videos. The Auto Arcs, like I said, were made by Miller in the USA. This is obviously a lot more modern, but it also cost me a lot more money. This machine altogether, with the replacement parts that I put on, cost me under $300. Moral of the story is, if you know what to look for and you keep your eyes open, you can really get great deals on equipment like this. You have to be willing to put in the time and do the research, but again, for 300 bucks, I got a machine that's going to be really capable and we're going to use a lot in the shop. I'm really looking forward to sort of getting into the rotation with the other machines that I have here. You might be wondering why I have 4 MIG welders in my shop. We teach welding here, and that's like one of our big things, is to get people using equipment, using tools. So our most popular class in the shop is a intro to MIG welding. If you're interested in that and you're in the Long Island, New York, New Jersey area, let us know. There's a link down below to where you can see the class times and stuff. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you learned something. Check us out on Instagram at Make Everything Shop. If you want any Make Everything gear or any more info about the shop, check the description down below. And that's it. So hopefully see you on the next video. Thanks. How many times am I going to trip over this fucking line?